Okay, welcome to the March 30th CBA workshop at our bee yard in Cheshire, Connecticut, Bolden Old Bee Yard. And this we did a number of things in this workshop, but one of them was we installed a package into our new transparent colony, totally transparent colony that I manufactured out of Lexan from used material I got over the wintertime. And I'm showing it here. Unfortunately, we don't have the video on the day of the event, but I'm going to do my best to try to dub in what's going on here. So I just took the insulation sleeves off. This colony is transparent, and it also has a transparent inner cover, so we should be able to observe exactly what's going on with the bees all of the time. I'm going to hold it up here for a little bit so you can see better what it looks like. It's totally transparent, all four sides, of course. And then this gives you a good view of the starter strips that I made. And those starter strips are from regular frame bars, standard length. And I just cut starter strip in little strips and connected it to the bars. And that's what we're going to use to guide bees to build the comb. Hopefully we can get them to build all natural comb and observe all of that process while we inspect the spots during future workshops. So now I'm just preparing space to put the bees. This is a standard package installation, but I do want you to take a look at a little trick I'm using to take the can out of this wooden box, which usually frustrates beekeepers, and so I think I've solved that problem, and we'll take a look at what I do here in a minute. So I'm just going to remove some bars and for room to shake the bees into. Now I had originally intended to wire the queen into one of the bars in the center. So I was going to leave one in and center it and then just wire the queen in there. But after I got looking at her, it became clear that she was accepted by the package, and it made some sense for me to direct release her in this colony because there wasn't a lot of room to wire her to a bar or put elastic around that fragile starter strip. So that's what I did. I direct released her, and you'll see that in a minute. Now, I prepped the package a little bit by taking all the staples out of that Luan cover you get with your wooden package of bees, and I taped I taped it back down, and I used that piece of tape as sort of a hinge. You'll see how I do that in a minute. So that it's just like it is. It has the queen strapped in there, and it has the Luan cover that covers the can. I also took the staple out of the strap and that holds the queen in, so I'll show that in a minute. So here it is. I have a little suction cup. Just push it down on top of the can, and it eliminates all of the frustration of getting that can up just a little bit so you can grab it with your hand. So it's not, so there it is. So there it goes right out. And of course that hole is exactly the same size as the can, so it doesn't leak bees. And then that little flap of tape allows me to put that Luan cover right back down. And you don't have to struggle with all of the staples and all of that at the time that you lift it. So now the next thing we're going to do is remove the queen. And I'm just going to flip that Luan up again. And you're going to see the queen come out with a ball of attendants around her, a whole lot of attendants actually. And that's how I actually determined that she was fine and she was being totally accepted by this package, and I could release her. So there's a big pear-shaped glob of bees that come out with this queen, and the first thing I'm going to do is bring it over there and shake it into the colonies. This is standard installation, package installation. So I'll dump it in. I'm going to ask that my assistant there give me the inner cover so I can keep those bees from flying out of that hive while I prepare the package to be shook in. All right, so I managed to get all the bees off the package. Then the first thing you do is inspect it and make sure you have a live queen in there, and I did that. I passed it around so people could see it. So they have the queen at this point. So now, again, standard practice. I'm going to shake these bees down to the bottom. There's a big, it's a fairly good package of bees, and there's not a lot of dead bees in it. So I'm going to just give it a bounce on the ground. You'll see that in a second, and that'll knock all the bees to the bottom. And then, well, I'm just going to install them in the colony just the way you normally would. So there it is, a bounce on the ground. Gets all of the bees down to the bottom. Now, of course, I'm going to take that flap off again and shake them in. It's as simple as that. We got room to do it. And I'll open up the flap, take it off, and shake them in. Now, the first thing that's interesting in this transparent colony is you can see how the bees actually just lay on the ground and spread out. But if you take notice, they're starting to crawl up the back wall. Now it's after I made that decision not to wire the queen in. I'm going to direct release her. All the bees are in there on their own at this point. The queen is in the cage. And I want to make sure that I have the queen down in and among the bees before I rip off the screen, which is loose, but not off. So I take that all the way off when I'm in the colony. So if the queen is flight ready for some reason or decides to fly, she's at least down there, and I might be able to knock her back down into the colony. But as it turns out, she didn't. So I just was able to rip the screen off and then just lay the cage down in on all those bees. And then we could just watch the queen walk out of the cage. And as soon as she did that, I knew she was in there among the rest of the bees. And I reached down and pulled the cage up. And again, take a look at her. That was it. So she was out and in among the bees. And the next process is just to put the bars back in, all the bars back in, and then put the inner cover on, and all the bees are installed in the colony. Now, I decided initially to use a feeder for these, a round kind of a feeder made by Bee Smart, and I'll show you that in a minute. So there's the transparent inner cover going on. Make sure we don't kill any bees. And then we're going to just lift this box up and put it on its stand. Now, I built a special stand for it also. And the stand is way higher than you normally would put a bee box on. But this is going to be completely for observational purposes, for both to see how bees behave in it and also to see how oxalic acid is vaporized in it. So that'll be, so it's got sort of a dual purpose that we're going to use it for in this yard. Now we're just gazing at the miraculous way that it looks. And I've noticed that the bees have all gone to the back of the colony, and they're just kind of walking up the wall. And you can't really, there's some reflections in here that make that almost impossible to see, but you'll see it clearer in some other parts of the video, where the bees are just walking up the back, and they found their way up. The queen followed their way up with them, and they start to build comb. They're starting to build comb on those back, immediately start to build comb on the bars with the starter strips. Now here we're just filling the feeders. You might be familiar with this kind of feeder, and we're filling it, and we filled 2 of them. Because my theory is that when you put a package of bees in a colony, the more syrup you give them, the better. Right away, of course, because they've got to build a lot of comb, and they need a lot of syrup to do that. And this is 1-to-1, which will stimulate comb building and also rearing, but it's a little bit early for that part of it. And hopefully this video clears up a little bit without reflections in it, and you'll see what the bees are basically doing. Now they're gathered around, of course, the front entrance. They've already found that, and the bees are signaling with their Nasanov gland at that little front entrance, indicating that this is their home. And so I'm going to use 2 feeders in this case. And you'll notice that got stung in the eye there. You'll notice that this colony has two covers or sleeves, protective sleeves, insulated sleeves that'll go over it. There's a white one and a blue one. The white one is only a spacer for the feeders. I'm going to put that one on first, and then wiping all the bees off the side. You don't want bees on the side of your box when you're installing a sleeve on it, because they'll get caught there and they won't be able to get out. So we'll put the white one on first. And again, this is just a spacer for the feeders. And you'll see that the blue one will extend above the top of this hive and will cover both of the feeders. So I have a little trouble, or actually I'm pointing out some interesting behaviors already that you can see inside the colony. So you can actually see small hive beetles walking around across the end bars, and so everything like that. Really interesting stuff going on. Signaling, fanning of bees' wings, really a lot of things that you've never seen before when you put a package in. So we'll get that sleeve down, and the next thing you'll see is me running around the back of the colony. You'll see me on the back of the colony, actually, and I'll be putting on the feeders in a minute. All right, so now they're full, and you got to screw their base on. And here I am. Now this is the box. The blue EPS sleeve will stay on this box after the feeders are gone. And we're only going to run a single deep here, because, again, it's just for observational purposes. And for both the oxalic acid vaporization and for the biology of how bees build comb, we're hoping to be able to see some really interesting things that you normally can't see if the colony is in the deep space of a wooden box. So at this final stage of this installation, I'm just going to put the feeders in. Actually, I removed the inner cover that was there keeping the bees in the colony all at that time. Then I put in some stray bees on the cover that I'm going to brush off. A great way to irritate bees is to brush them off with a brush, and they'll come back up and demonstrate their their agitation at this every now and then. Right, so once you got all the bees back down into the colony, and put the feeders in, 2 of them. You turn them upside down, then the suction stops them from dripping, and then the bees can take syrup out of the bottom of them. So you can see those feeders online. All right, so when we put the second feeder in, then I can just actually put the inner cover back in, which you'll see me do in a minute, and it just stays on the top of those feeders, and it just keeps bees in the colony, that's all. And then the final stage is to put on the totally insulated top cover, which has a reflective surface also that will reflect some IR back down on the bees, infrared radiation, keep them warm. And once this is on, I'm strapping it to this structure, which you won't see, and it's over. So thanks for watching.